Today we've been looking at the vision and the mission of the school, about the school values for the next 5 to 10 years. We just had different classes in, giving us ideas so we can put them together and try and make the school better over the next few years, and so that the teachers can enjoy themselves while they're teaching and the students enjoy themselves while they're learning. Yeah.
The school directions were established about 6 to 8 years ago, well before my time as principal at this school, and all of our current students would not have been here 6 to 8 years ago, and we've probably had an 80% staff change during that time. What we're out to achieve is to gain a commonly agreed upon school purpose, school vision and a set of values. We had 910 students that needed to be part of the process. 80 staff and a community, so they were our key stakeholders. Today is your opportunity to have a say about the school directions. We had 2 consultants from Quality Learning Australia come in and lead and facilitate the process across the 2 days. We had 6 groups on day 1. We had our teaching and learning communities come in at a programmed time along with their teachers.
There were 4 activities the students were invited to participate in. The first was to work in groups of 4 and write down what they saw as the purpose of school and why they saw that.
People have been writing down what the purpose of our school is, and then we collect it and we underline the keywords, like we've got, so we can get an education, you underline get an education, and then we write it on sticky pieces of paper and then put it on a big sheet.
And what are some of the common things?
To learn, get a job, be friends, and be happy.
The second thing the students were invited to do was to write down on a sticky note one characteristic of a perfect school. So if Seaford 6 to 12 was a perfect school, what would be one characteristic that would describe that? Again, these responses were collected by the SRC and collated into affinity diagrams for each of the groups.
We had to sit down in groups and put them into the different categories.
These are the categories we got them in, sorted them out into were teaching and learning, behaviour, fun, no homework, free time, clean, environment, uniform and sport.
Thirdly, the students are invited to write down on a sticky note a behaviour that they'd like to see from everybody across the school. These behaviours were collected by the SRC and turned into an affinity diagram for each of the 6 groups. Finally, the students were invited to write down on a sticky note one capability or skill that the students would like to have by the time they left school.
What knowledge or skills or behaviours or attitudes would you like school to help you develop?
Again, these were collected by the SRC and created into affinity diagrams for each of the 6 groups.
On day 2, we then had 12 groups come through. We had to halve the teaching and learning communities because we needed that day to function a bit differently. Day 2 was very powerful. Jane and Michael and the SRC have been busily pulling together all your fantastic ideas. But we still needed to refine and finalise the data.
Each group was invited to respond to the data that had been collected and collated from the previous day. Firstly, the values and behaviours had been collated into 6 headings and behaviours from across the entire school population drawn together under those headings. These were shown to the students and they were invited to show their level of commitment to these values and behaviours through a consensogram. On a sticky note, each student wrote down a number between 0 and 10 that represented their commitment to these new values and behaviours. These sticky notes were collected by the SRC and built into a consensogram that showed the level of commitment.
Over the past 2 days we've been collecting information from the students, and today our job was to see how committed they were to the school values.
10 was the highest and 0 was pretty much that
they're made to come to school and they don't really care.
Secondly, the capabilities and skills that have been identified on the previous day were also presented to the students, and they're invited to express their level of commitment to these as the things they wanted from school. So again, using a small sticky note, they were asked to rate it between 0 and 10, their level of commitment to these as the things they wanted by the time they left Seaford 6 to 12 school.
So we've done ours on the student profile today, and each class has come in and got 2 little sticky notes, and they've put about what they want when they leave school and what they value about the school, from 0 to 10, 0 being the lowest and 10 being the highest. And we've collected them up and put them on a big piece of paper.
Once Crystal and Kyle had collected all the post-its, we put them in rows, and for the student profile, and we wrote 10 being at the top, we put the green ones, and then we put the pink on top, and then each sub-score had a different colour, which we overlapped.
And we've tallied them up.
And 7 seems to be winning by 1 point, but 8 is 1 point behind.
Finally, the students were invited to prioritise the purpose and vision that they'd come up with the previous day. The responses had been collated overnight, and each student was given 2 dots to put on the key things that they thought were the main reasons for coming to school, the purpose, and 2 dots to place on the key pieces that the vision that they would like to see for Seaford 6 to 12 school.
People have got coloured dots and they put it on their 2 most popular school vision perfect school things, and then I have to tally it up and write it down on the sides, and the most popular would be no homework, no uniform, great teachers and fun.
Soon after the 2-day visioning and values exercise, we felt it was really important to get that information up in all the classrooms. So we organised for some professional signs to be made up with our 6 values on them. So they're up across the whole school, in all classrooms, in the cafeteria, in the library, in all areas where all adults and students can see them, so they're very visible.
If you put pages of notes up in a room, you're going to be able to remember what it says, because even just sitting there you think, I'm bored, I'll read something. If we look around the room and they're up around the room, students are sitting in class, they'll read them.
We've developed a survey which has been given to students to do on staff, and what they think staff need to do to walk the talk.
Just recently we had a whole school staff meeting where we shared the results of the whole school staff value survey, and within that we found that there were 2 areas that as a whole school we probably needed to look at and improve on, and those 2 were modelling the values, and rightly so, because they were very new and students were very unsure about the values when they were filling in the surveys, and the other one was positive recognition. So as a staff we'll continue to focus on those 2 areas.
Well, my care group's a Year 10 care group, so one of my major concerns was for the kids to take ownership of the values, and therefore we took the time to discuss the values, to see how they were generated and get the students to accept that they owned the values because they helped generate them from the beginning. In my general classroom, they are on display, they're there for the students to see. We try to treat them not just as a poster, but as a guidance for them, so that they're more than just being a blurb, they're not just a bit of publicity, they're a thing that we value.
The students are a lot friendlier towards each other, and the teachers seem to be taking a more active role in the part of learning.
The students have ownership of the values. They can see where they have helped generate them. They can see that they have a really positive impact for us, and that they help to reinforce what we want from them and what they can expect from me as a teacher and from the other teachers.
I've seen the kids actually notice the school values and try and abide by them by doing the work that's set, and more people are actually attending classes instead of wagging, and people are involving people more.
If I'm respecting you 100%, and I do, I expect that in return, and nothing short of. In the way that I go about my program, they've always been there, but now the kids are now saying, hey, he's been doing this, and this is now the things that we've all agreed on. So It's all out there and it's the expectation amongst all of us.
They've noticed that the teachers have made an effort, so they're making an effort as well to abide by the school values.
We looked at learning last week and they all wrote, you know, each of those I statements down and how they apply them in the school. And a lot of them were very truthful about why they don't accept those values, why they don't achieve those values. And then there were the others in the class that were able to really claim ownership and say, this is why I'm a good learner, because I can do this, this and this. In my classroom on the back wall, we've put up everyone's statements, so when I come in on Tuesday, my students will look at those and we'll just start talking about them, creating a dialogue about how those values can be changed, what they can do differently, why are some people able to claim it more readily than others, what are they doing? So that's how I use it. But I think for middle school students, it's the role modelling, how I talk to them, how I act, how I meet my deadlines.
What we're talking about is the big stick approach as compared to using the values in a positive manner. And a big stick approach would be, let's have a look at a respect statement. Respect other people's property. If a kid breaks a pencil, a big stick approach would say, you broke his pencil, look up there, that's our respect statement. You're not respecting other people, get outside. Well, the positive way of using that is, you know, you've broken someone's pencil, you're not really respecting other people's property. It's part of what we believe here at Seaford, and that's part of our statements. How do you think we can rectify the situation? And, you know, just using them in a positive way instead of the big stick approach where you use them as a hard and fast, here's the rule, you don't comply to that, out you go.
The kids do follow the I am visions, like I will be on time, I am here to learn, visions like that. Before these visions were put into play, you just didn't really see it all that much. Like their attitude towards teachers, fellow friends, classmates was just not there.
Our teachers are being invited to bring along their individual surveys and discuss those with their line managers.
Yeah. My teacher sets relevant work. You know, agree. It's very powerful because you've got disagree and strongly disagree. No kid disagrees or strongly disagrees with the fact that your work is relevant.
And also
Staff can see what they can do to actually make those vision and values become actions, not just words or posters.
When they weren't there, I'm like, oh, I've got a free, I'm going home. You say you do homework at home and you don't. You get home, you think, oh, I can make a sandwich. And by staying at school and doing your work, you're getting more done. And you've got students around you that say, look, you know, you should be doing your work. And you're like, yeah, right. So even students are encouraging you to do it. The Values Day next week is about showing how we do the values.
Our SRC has organised a week of activities that's engaging the whole school, and they've nominated 4 values to focus on: respect, responsibility, friendship and happiness.
We wanted to do something for the vision and values, so I took it to the senior SRC members and they said, well, if you try and organise, you know, workshops and things like that, quite honestly, we've got people at the school that decide that will not turn up on those particular days, but if you did something where you get everyone actually involved and they're getting along and they're having fun.
Before there was lots of fighting and people were just really mean to each other and they just didn't care about anybody but themselves. And now people seem to be taking more consideration of others.
The vision and values should underpin everything we do. You know, everything we need to refer back to it because they're the statements that we've come up as a school. You don't have ownership and you don't use that to underpin on our day-to-day practices, then we don't have values. We have postcards and we have words on walls.
We have focused quite heavily on the vision and the values, and I think we really needed to do that first up. It was almost like a natural beginning starting point in building the school culture that we were all shaping at the time, and that gave us the how. How are we building school culture at this school? How do we go about it? The vision and the values will no doubt continue to influence reform and change in the school. But then I think we need to move into exploring our purpose further and our graduate profile further. For our school, getting everything moving in a more positive and purposeful direction, this process has just been fantastic. I'd have to say it hasn't been easy, but I'd also have to say it's working for us.